Testing the volume. Can you tell us if you can hear us? Hello, hello. We'll see if there's much of a delay here. This is Cindy from Part-Time Permies.
And Michael from Part-Time Permies.
I'm about to start our live stream. I think we have a few people in the room. If someone can just give me a heads up if you can hear us and see us. And I know there's a little bit of a delay. Okay. Helix, are you going to join us today? Got sound, yay! Hi, Jeff from Bobblehead Homestead. And Helix just used us as a walking path. Hi, Finite World. How are you guys? And Single Man, hello, hello. So we do have a few people in the room, and Helix is going to come right back up again. Our cat is trying to figure out where to go.
All right, I'm
okay,
out.
Come on, kitty. There we go. Anyway, so we have had a busy week. I hope you guys are enjoying warm weather like we are recently. It's been quite nice this weekend. It finally warmed up, and we're supposed to, outlook for the next 10 days is about as warm, 50s and 60s, even may hit the 70s. So
might finish April with a little bit of spring.
Yay! Finally hit spring here, which means I gotta get stuff in the ground. But at least the cold weather stuff, because we can still get a frost by as late as May 13th. Well, that's average day last frost. We could get it later. Anyway, so we have a few people in the room today. We'll go over kind of what we've been doing this week. I think I only got one video up this week, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
Did you do two?
No, I only got the one this week since the last live show, I'm pretty sure. And then, actually, I didn't even pull it up. I've been doing this so last minute because we had a guest here at the house until, and just until this afternoon. I had my niece here. So it's been a very busy weekend with a 3-year-old in the house. And Carrie Hyatt, hello. So let me actually pull it up. So give me 1 second. Sorry here. See if I could how quickly I could pull this up. Yeah, the plantain asparagus one is the one I got up this week. So sorry, I missed that. Yes, and Finite World pulled it up as I was saying it, but I think there's a delay on the chat, so he probably pulled it up actually
quite a bit faster
before I said it, from what they're viewing anyway. Oh, thank you, Single Man. I love this channel. Thanks. So we did get the planting asparagus video up. We did not get the field trip videos taken care of yet, and I've made, I think, footage for 3 more videos potentially. So I have footage for 5 videos to put together. So can you say we'll be working on that this week. I don't know if I'll get through all 5 videos, but I'll probably go back and forth between the field trip and what we're doing this weekend.
The field trip's going to be 2 videos, I think.
Yeah, I think
Two
that
topics,
I'm counting.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm counting that as 2 potential videos, and then maybe 3 videos with my niece here this weekend and what we've been up to do this weekend. But it's for those of you guys not in the Northeast or Michigan or anything, it finally got warm. I'm so happy. And we finally moved our chickens. Those of you guys, oh no, I have 6 videos to do. Oh my goodness. I got my chickens moved into the garden and into the summer coop because we're friendly. The next 10 days we're supposed to be like lows in the 30s and up. So I think they spent 1 night in the upper 20s in that coop the first night, but they're going to be in there. So we'll do a little flock update video as well. And hello, Valerie, and welcome. So got 9 people in the room. Cool. Yeah. So lots and lots of projects, but I wanted to show you this picture because It's just showing what the temperatures are doing. That's maple tree flowers. Yay.
Really late. They just started budding in the last couple days, and they just opened up really yesterday.
Yeah. I just took a picture of that today, and really, that's like 3 weeks late, I want to say, that we have those flowers on there.
We think the first mushrooms might pop up in the next few days. It's been a little dry. We got a ton of rain last weekend. It's dried out, so you got to go find the wet areas. But with the weather, it's possible that edible or non-edible mushrooms will be showing in the next few days.
In our area. And I saw, actually, Bobblehead Homestead had some pictures on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, I saw those.
Of some mushrooms in his area, but of course it's a lot warmer down there. So we got flowers coming up. We have flowers blooming. Bless you. We have, I don't even know what those flowers are called in our back patio. They're bulbs that come up every year. We didn't plant them. Previous owner planted them.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
The purple ones and the pink ones that are open. But anyway, they're right on the patio if you look out there. We did have the first daffodil open up out there too. So the bulbs are finally starting to open up. We have had crocuses for a while.
Yeah, crocuses come up in the snow.
Yeah, they came up quite a while ago. But it is finally feeling like spring. And this weekend, we had a visitor come. My niece, my sister's daughter, came, and she's 3 years old, so she came to visit us, and she was helping out quite a bit around here. We're going to have, I think, 3 videos that'll include her coming up. A single man's learning about how to grow his own mushrooms. I still need to do that.
I know. Let's got to do that. They've been sitting there since November, I think.
We can almost start growing them outside now, in the next month anyway.
Yep.
Actually, the kit we bought for growing mushrooms was for growing them in logs and things outdoors. It has a lot of spores in it, so we will get to that eventually. It's just got a lot of things on the list.
Sitting in our fridge for a long time.
Yeah. It was his birthday present. In fact, he keeps saying, I have to grow them, but technically it was your birthday present.
I know, but I'm busy.
And I'm not. But anyway, we did have a visitor. Charlie came to visit, and she was helping out with changing the water and collecting eggs and helping me plant potatoes and everything. You want to try some shiitake logs someday?
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends that do shiitake, and I have friends that do them in wood chips, which are the lower grade, and then ones that do them, they spore them down and then set them upright to get the A grade.
Yeah.
Shiitakes. So doing the logs correctly, you get a much higher quality shiitake.
Yep.
But yeah, they're good.
Yeah. So, and Noah's Ark ordered spores. Oh, that's cool. So the 3 of you guys are gonna start growing mushrooms potentially.
And we have a ton of mushroom growing here. We have a couple companies that are selling at the farmers market that are doing quite a variety of what was previously wild mushrooms, but are now indoors.
Yeah, single man. Shiitakes are easier than morels. Yeah, morels are like almost impossible to cultivate.
Better just find them.
Yeah, it's better to forage them. I've known people who tried to get them to spore, but I have not known many people to be very consistent in that. But yeah, so
we're hoping we have a very good morel area, one of the better areas in the country, but we're probably 2 to 4 weeks out, depending on the weather.
Yeah. If we get in warm enough over the next 10 days,
we stay warm, and we may get a little rain midweek. If we get a good dose of rain midweek and it stays a little bit warm, but I think the ground isn't really warmed up yet. I think we're too early.
Yeah.
It's time to start looking around, though.
Maybe in the next couple weeks, though.
There's been a couple sightings northwest of here.
Or reported sightings.
Well, no, there are pictures. Yeah. So there's some really, really tiny ones last year, kind of towards Lake Michigan, where it gets a little warmer. Yeah. And they must have them up against a rock or something. It was
some microclimate.
And they were like that big.
So if you get a warm little microclimate, you might get them started. We have a couple apple trees in back, a couple that had died off. So last year we had. I found one, but I think the chickens may have gotten some potentially too last year. So we're keeping the chickens out of there this year.
Yep, till we know morels are done when they will not be by the apple trees.
Yep.
They can show up in other places too, but that's a real high likely area. our neighbor had a few on the apple trees last year, and there was no neighbor there then. We now have a neighbor there, and he's kind of like, whatever. If you want them, go find them. We'll give them to him if he wants them, but if he doesn't, we'll eat them. But he says, go take a look. Don't worry about it.
I think we found about 5 under their apple trees last spring. And last spring was when our old neighbors were selling that property, and they had already moved, so, nobody was living there, so we took them.
White out near the airport.
Oh yeah, earlier this week, definitely. We went through all seasons this week. I think Sunday morning last week we were talking about the ice storm.
We had an icing Saturday night all
to Sunday morning.
Sunday, and even Monday continued. We had
more ice Monday, more snow on Tuesday.
Half an inch of snow or a quarter inch of snow for about 3 days. They're out every day.
But we got a lot of rain too, so we were kind of on that freeze line, so we didn't get as much of the snow as a lot of people just north of us. And of course, east of us, I think you got more snow as well. Than we did. We really got dustings every time they said we'd get an inch or two. But I'm looking at the chat here. Single man says, morels don't grow wild here. I have to so-called cultivate them. Yeah. They do go wild on this side of the state.
Yeah, they grow in our area. They're actually
like the
well-known morels in our area.
They like the dying apple trees.
Not a good year last year, so we're hoping for, and it was a so-so year the year before, so we're hoping for a really good year this year.
Yeah, last year it was just really dry. We had like a month with hardly any rain, and that didn't help. And it went from like really cold. We had a freeze in the mid-May almost last year, and then it went to like 80.
Yep, cold, couple weeks, dryish, 80, and then we dried out for 8-9 weeks. So. Yeah, I don't know if we put our snow shovel away. The plow has been off the truck actually since the beginning of March. Yeah, I needed to use the truck for something, so we took the plow off. And while we got an inch of snow once or twice, it wasn't worth plowing. So I think we're safe on the plow. Likely, I don't know about the shovel.
Probably. I mean, the next 10 days are supposed to be warm. We could get some good frost, but I don't know if we'll get any good snow.
Where is Carrie? Mushrooms grow almost everywhere, but you do have to find them, and once you find them, they kind of start popping up everywhere.
But they also have to be...
There are areas that don't grow so well.
Wet places. If you're in a really dry area, then probably not.
That's true.
So if you're in the desert, probably not.
That's true.
So almost any wet place.
They'll come up, but they come up so occasionally. And then most of them aren't edibles anyway.
Well, most deserts have a rainy season, so who knows. But yeah, I mean, Carrie, where are you located? I'm guessing... I'm not sure. Actually, let's see. Noah's Ark is in Michigan. Finite World's in Michigan.
Single Man and Carrie don't know.
I don't know.
Valerie, she's told us, and we should remember, but I don't remember.
I know, we're so bad. Anyway, if you want to list
we should start writing them down.
If you want to list just kind of what region you're in, obviously don't list specifics. But
you can get $50 a pound in the big cities, $40 to $50 a pound, sometimes even more. Dried high-quality morels can be $300 a pound, but dried is a lot of...
however, in California.
Yeah, however, they really retail at about a quarter of what people are paying even at wholesale restaurants. If you're going from the forager to the buyer, you got to cut... we would get people calling in a restaurant. We heard morels $20 a pound. We're like, we'll give you about $5 if they're verified. And they said, no, we'll keep them. I said, well, that's really what it comes down to is 5, maybe approaching 8 or 10 if they're really nice.
Yeah.
But
okay. Carrie's in the western Texas hill country.
Yeah, that could be a...
desert not that far to the west. So that's, one of the drier areas.
Mushrooms.
I was going to say the desert southwest is probably harder to find mushrooms.
Bobblehead, you're probably at or approaching through your morel time.
You might be almost done with morels.
I don't know. You're also a little bit on the southern end for morels because they do tend to like a colder climate. I wouldn't be surprised if there could be some, but you're going to be near the end. There will be other things there.
Yeah.
But
so we're going to keep our eyes open. I will be going next Sunday. Yeah. I will be going foraging with Nobby for mushrooms. So, and it's supposed to be nice and 60 degrees, and we're supposed to have a couple days of maybe some scattered rain during the week, so not a whole lot, but so maybe we'll find some mushrooms. She wants to go find reishi. and I've never foraged
I
for
have
reishi.
never. Yeah, I don't.
So we might. That'll be interesting. So I will definitely bring the video camera.
Oh
on that
no,
one.
you don't have to test for morels. You do need a license to wholesale mushrooms
Yeah.
or retail them at a farmer's market. It's a mushroom foraging license, a 20-hour class. That just started 2 years ago. We have, I know, 2 or 3 people with, or more, with the license. It's a fairly intensive class. However, you don't need to test them. They need to be verified by somebody who carries the license to identify them. You can still sell them to them or to an aggregator, but somewhere before it hits the public or a restaurant, it now requires that it goes through a licensed person. But I have enough people that if I needed to sell them, which I don't have any need to,
Yeah.
I could bring them to people and they could give me an up or down on them or a maybe. And if they say yes, I could actually serve them. So, but morels are pretty easy to identify.
Yeah.
So yeah, things have changed in Michigan. They've gotten a little tougher, but with the right sources, you can definitely use forage mushrooms even commercially.
Each state might be slightly different.
Every state's different. Yeah.
On that, but so you'll have to check out what in their state. But that's Michigan anyway. And who was it? Valerie said she's in Southeast Michigan, Downriver, Detroit area. So I definitely know that area. All my family's on that side of the state.
Yeah,
so
they'll have morels, but they're not there yet either because we might get them a little before. We might get them a week or so before the east side of the state.
Yeah, yeah. The east side of the state does tend to be on.
Oh yeah, to take the test can, depending on how much they want to charge for the class, could be up to $500. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends.
It's
people.
The test. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 20-hour. So it's a long class. So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Some people offer it cheaper, some will offer it more expensive, but you got to put some investment in. And it's not a real easy test. However, for an advanced forager, it's actually, they don't think it's hard enough. I think you can sell up to 20, you can identify and sell up to 20 different types of mushrooms. There are additional edibles, but they are not licensed for sale or legal for sale.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yep. Noah's Ark knows that area. Southeast Michigan also. Bobblehead had some below freezing temperature a week ago. Yeah, I know.
Everything got cold though.
The whole east side of the country got cold. But yeah, and it was kind of funny because you probably had freezing temperature about the same time, and we were just right around freezing. We weren't that much below freezing, so crazy. I think that blew through, kind of weird. But yeah, so we definitely are going to be on the lookout for that. So I am so far behind on my videos, but I will try to work each night a little bit, an hour or two on videos, which means at least every other day I should be releasing something. It usually takes me about 2 to 4 hours, depending on the extent of the video, to edit and release it. So if I could get a couple hours in a night, then we're probably good. Okay, and so anyway, any more with the mushrooms? No, we're going to have some fun on that coming up, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll wait till we actually have some.
Yeah. Yeah, speak too soon. I'll probably want, as long as it doesn't dry out too much is the whole purpose of that. But I did want to mention one other thing. Well, okay, things that will be coming up in videos, just to give you a sneak peek on things. I will have 3 videos with my niece in them. And my niece is 3 years old, like that picture I showed earlier. She was helping with the chickens, gathering eggs, helping change waters. Very involved in that, very much excited to do that. I guess her mom built up that excitement because they live on the east side of the state. We don't see them extremely often. But her mom built up that excitement big time for like the last few weeks on going to visit. So she was a huge help. She was here from Friday until today. So she spent 2 nights with us. It was only her second time ever doing it overnight. And she did really well with it. And she kept me busy. I ended up taking nap time with her a little bit. But so we did that. We went and she helped me plant potatoes. And she was really good at it. And I would dig the trench for them, and she would drop the potatoes, spread them out. She was actually very on top of it. So we made a video on that. She also wanted to plant her own seeds and bring them home to grow in her garden. The funny thing is, I told her that I was like, let's plant a couple seeds and you could bring them home and grow them. Well, of course, that turned into more than a couple of vegetable seeds and flower seeds. And she goes, and I'd never mentioned anything about a garden at her house. And she goes, yeah, I want to put them in my garden. So I told her mom that, and she's like, they have a very shady yard.
Yeah,
So,
there's maybe one corner that gets a little bit of light.
little bit of light in there, and then
it's not a large yard, but it's not a tiny yard, but it is dark.
It's a neighborhood lot. Yeah,
It's blocked by trees and a garage and everything else. So yeah,
they're in Plymouth. So she's gonna have to figure out where these plants are going. But she has like I think 11 or so different pots. I gave Charlie a heads up that some might grow, some might not. So you have to take care of them and see. But it'll be interesting. But Laura doesn't grow a whole lot herself. So my sister, that is. But we also went on a field trip earlier today. Hi, 1870s homesteads in here. Hello. But we went and took her, and in fact, actually last spring or early summer, we took my both nieces and nephew to my neighbor's house, and she has a bunch of animals on her property down the road. So we went and took Charlie back there because she loves horses. And she stood by that fence and waited for that horse to come over, and so she can pet the horse, which she finally did get a chance to. So she was having fun over there today, but she was exhausted. 1870s. Any morals yet?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Not yet. Soon, hopefully. But yeah. I don't know. Did you find any?
I think the only reports have been closer to the lake than us.
Yeah.
Probably a little warmer. But yeah, so we're going to have about 3 videos.
So we saw the nenes and the donkeys.
My neighbor has a 1 horse, 2 donkeys, a pig. Well, she has a pair of sheep, and now she has a lamb. So we saw that baby lamb who's only a couple weeks old. Tons of poultry. Chickens, ducks, turkeys. Just show turkeys. Her sons do 4-H, so they tend to show chickens and turkeys and things at the fair each year. So I think that's all her animals. But what did she say? She has over 100?
I think she said at some point they're around 100. That was...
Yeah.
No,
but a lot of poultry.
A lot of them are transitioning poultry that are come and go.
And she often has bees too, but I think her bees died out this winter.
She was saying she lost them all. It was a long winter. She is going to get new ones soon.
Yeah, but she's also developing a worse and worse allergies.
So her husband's going to, she was saying, I think
handle more. I wasn't there at that
point. Her other friends were asking. They're going to still do bees. She's going to do some, but her husband's going to do a little more of it.
Yeah.
And she's going to look at possibly doing some shots and other things to try and get over the reduce, because she's getting really
bad allergies to them. Every time she gets stung, it gets worse. But yeah, no, I don't think we're quite warm enough.
Yep, start looking for mushrooms. Just back in
the next week or 2.
In the next few days, as it warms up.
Yeah.
Look in wet areas. Look in places that get some sun, because they're going to be delayed in other areas. So where they may not grow later, you might catch them right now. So look for sun. Look for rocks, things that heat up.
Yeah.
Sides of barns or sides of pavement. Where you could get a few more warming degrees during the day, and you might get stuff there. You won't find anything there shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But it's time to start looking. Don't get too excited if you don't find anything.
But yeah, it's definitely time to. Have we ever had pop-up fruits?
Yes, they grow wild all over around here.
Absolutely. In fact, we do have a foraging video from, I want to say it was in September.
And we have pawpaw seeds in the fridge that still need to be
planted.
They grow really slow. They're a little difficult.
Yeah,
to get going. Once they get going and they get rooted and in the wild, they're pretty good.
Yep.
They pretty much go, but yeah, we live a few miles from the town of Pawpaw.
Princess, yes, you picked a bunch of dandelions and dried the roots last night. I haven't done the roots yet.
Our dandelions aren't big enough for roots yet this season. They're perfect.
Although they're perennial, so they could be.
Could be, but yeah.
They will come back, and I think the problem is most of our dandelions that are growing are actually growing around our patio, like around the rocks on our patio. So we don't really dig the roots, but we do.
They're perfect for tender shoots right now.
Yes. In fact, if you want,
you get a lot of money for dandelions and go to the right areas.
If you have an Italian community or Greek community,
highly prized. The young tender dandelions right now, and going on for the next week or 2, have a pretty good commercial value.
So I was actually just going to pull up my website on my phone so I can read my own notes, which I just put up.
You can look it up, it has a pretty big rounded leaf. It's a very tropical looking sort of leaf and plant. It grows in the understory, usually in well-drained, poor soil close to a water source like a stream. And the fruits look like little mangoes, like quarter
they do.
size,
They're like
half size, quarter size mangoes.
Like they could go from about that big to about that big.
Yep.
And they're related to the custard apple. So the funny thing is they have to have cold weather in the winter for their seeds to germinate. So they have to have a number of months that I think are under 40 degrees.
Pawpaws were commercially harvested in this area.
Yeah.
Probably until, 50 plus years ago, it really fell out of form because they were hard to do rows and columns and propagate them.
And it was hard to transport them.
And transport them and other things.
They bruise easily.
You pick them fairly ripe. You eat them extremely ripe.
Yeah, you basically eat them after they turn almost black.
Yeah.
The skin turns black, so yeah.
But they were a commercial prized product in the area, and people have just forgotten. There's been a huge resurgence just in, I'd say, the last year and a half. It's crazy.
Yeah. So once we get into pawpaw season in the
which
fall,
will be late summer into early fall.
August, September.
Had a really good pawpaw year last year.
We did, and it might have been because
it was so hot.
It was hot and it was dry.
But they taproot in towards the streams, and our water table is low, or is close to the surface. I think. Yeah, so if we had a really good season this year, we may not have a great season, but next year, every year there's some.
Yeah. So should we go on to the herb of the week? Since they've already brought up dandelion, we will probably focus on pawpaws sometime at the end of summer or early fall this year and see what we can do with it.
Bobblehead needs to stop feeding his dandelions to his chickens and start eating them. Unless he's just got tremendous amounts of them.
Well, the problem is, there's a few things that affect the bitterness of the greens. And one is the fast growth helps keep the bitterness down. So if you have fast growing dandelions, then you can pick them and they're going to be less bitter. Springtime, of course, it's growing fast. It's just starting out. Those shoots, new shoots and everything. That's plus the shorter days. The more it's exposed to sunlight, the more bitter it is.
It's a chicory. Like all chicories get mature and get bitter to a point of extremely bitter.
Yeah. Technically, it's not a chicory, but it's related.
Really?
Nope. Right. But it is related. It's very similar leaf, and the basically, what was I going to say on that? Oh, the bitters. The hot leaves, the slow growing leaves, sunshine leaves. If you could get it out of a shady area, wet area, then it will be less bitter. You can always pick, the center leaves. The outer leaves are going to be more bitter than the center leaves because the center ones are the newer growing ones. And yes, you can make dandelion wine from the flowers. And almost everything on the dandelion is edible.
A lot of flowers, and you got to add sugar when you make dandelion wine.
The flowers are fairly sweet, though, so they do have some sugars in it. And in fact, if you actually pull
dandelion
the flowers,
jelly,
pull the flowers off of the greens, and don't use the greens in it because the flowers are sweet and the greens are bitter. So you can, if you like dandelion, wine, you'd use the flower part, the yellow part.
We were at a place when we were in Vermont, was it, that there was a guy who was making dandelion wine? We stopped. He made a whole bunch of different odd fruit and vegetable wines. Most of those things, you have to add sugar to them because there just isn't enough fermentable in there to...
We have a mosquito.
I had a mosquito bite me 3 days ago in the house.
The downfall to spring, especially wet.
Honey works great. Yes, you can put. So you make like a dandelion mead. Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of flowers, edible flowers, you can put in honey and flavor the honey with.
Just leave them in there.
Yeah, just leave them in.
Because then that prevents the fermenting if they're in pure honey.
Yeah, you could pickle the buds, the flower buds. There are people who do that. But just a little history on the dandelions. They're not actually native to North America. They're native to Europe. Which is why you see, especially Southern Europe, like around the Mediterranean area, they love eating dandelions.
Big salad green, and they're really the Italian green that is cultivated is really long.
It's really
much bigger than ours, and you get the red one and the green one, 2 different variants.
Although if you have dandelions growing in a nice fertile garden, you'll get some pretty darn big leaves off of our wild ones too. But you can get you can buy dandelion seeds.
Johnny has a real nice Italian one available.
Dandelion.
Yep, if you want to pay for it. Otherwise, you can go harvest them for free.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're a different Italian one. They're nice. I've grown them before.
Yeah, so they have been introduced, obviously, to North America and are all over North America, everywhere. So, if blanched, would that help?
They break down. You can saute them.
Yeah.
It's a quick saute, usually with some olive oil or maybe a little garlic or onions. I don't know if I would blanch them because I don't think you're going to get much left.
Well, but you might be... Well, the guy I was reading on actually was talking about boiling them. Boiling the greens. Mm-hmm. And that can get rid of some of the bitterness if you boil them and then take the water off of them and continue. Yeah. That could take some of the bitterness out. So if you do have really bitter ones, it might be helpful to do that. Otherwise, sauteing them. Hello, Yankee Living. Yeah, so definitely a lot of people eat the greens. A lot of people use the flowers. Some people's favorite part are the flowers because they are the sweeter part.
Yeah, the flowers are really sweet. You get them when they're closed or just beginning to open before they get the white pithy, cottony center, which isn't so tasty. But the nice thing is you drown a bitter green in a good amount of strong vinegar and salt and pepper or olive oil. And the smaller ones, you eat them raw, and as they get a little older, then you saute them. Yeah. And then eventually you stop eating them as it starts getting to the hot part of the season.
One part that helps too, if you're eating them in salads and things, if you just use it as a portion of your salad and not the base of your salad. So if you're mixing those greens in with your other, like your spinaches or your arugula and whatever else you're growing in your garden, you can...
Italian ones, I think, they're bred to be very large
and fast growing.
They're fast growing. They can be almost a foot, 6 inches to a foot long. They're just a lot bigger, and I would say while they're bitter, they are on the sweeter side. You can find those sometimes at a higher end produce store. Yeah. Health food stores and specialty produce stores will sell them sometimes. I had a place that sold them almost year round in New York.
Well, I do want to point out that if you're getting young dandelion greens, a lot of us, know how to identify dandelion once it flowers. And once it flowers, the greens do start getting more bitter at that point. So it is harder to pick. Like if you're trying dandelion greens in the summer because you know the plant, you know the flower, you're picking the greens, it's going to be bitter, especially on hot summer days. But if you know where they grow... you can check them out. Now the young leaves, these are all from our back patio, these pictures. These young leaves can be variable shapes. So this is one without too many lobes on the leaves versus this one which is extremely deeply lobed.
And the Italian one looks more like that and sometimes even has a red stem on it.
Yes, and actually...
And that's okay, that's just a variety.
Most dandelions, if you look closely, will have a little bit of reddish in the stems. Mm-hmm. Some more than others. So these are all dandelions growing on our patio out back, and they're starting to take off, which actually is a perfect time to cultivate them.
We could eat them this year. Last year the dog was peeing there sometimes, and so we never were, and didn't pee there all the time, but if it was cold or a hurry, he would run out and he would pee on the patio off to the side, and we were like, well, we're not going to try those. Then. So.
Yeah, but it's actually, our patio is probably a perfect place because they grow real quick there, and it's on the north side of our house. It's shady. It holds
heat off the brick walls.
It holds the dampness also under the rocks, so they're growing right in between the rocks. And yeah, those are quite edible there. And I missed something out here. My geese and ducks are outside the front door making a lot of noise. They want their evening snack, yeah.
Yeah, and don't put any of your poultry in with your dandelions because they will last about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Although if they have established a deep taproot, then they'll grow back.
Yeah, but the poultry loves them.
They are perennial, unless you're pulling the root to eat that, because that is edible as well. I was just looking quick, one of my foraging books, the guy I was looking, his book, he didn't like the root so much. He says sometimes they taste like potato-y, starchy if you cook them, and sometimes they can just be really tough and bitter. And it probably has to do with season as well.
Well, some people, like Nabi and people, they dry them down. Yeah. And then either what they grind them or they make tea with. There's a couple things you can do with them, and I think they kind of ferment and they enrich in their flavor when they
plus any roots
when they dry down.
Any roots that you pull, if you pull them in late fall, early spring, because they store the sugars in the roots for the winter. So any roots that you pull for any plant are going to be sweeter in the late fall. That's actually the perfect time to pull them.
Yeah, we buy a blend actually when we don't have time to forage. We buy a blend of wild cresses, dandelions, pepper root, and whatever else, flowers and buds. Nabi runs all the way through most of the year, even through the winter, through the hoop houses.
Greenhouses, yeah.
They grow all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And so we buy bags of those, and they're pretty rich. It's kind of some people use them for like power smoothies.
Yep.
But we tend to blend them because unless you really get them with a good hit of oil and salt and vinegar, they can be a little strong, but they're awesome mixed with a little more tender, sweeter grain.
Oh, by the way, if you want to try the buds and the stem that leads to the buds, you want to try them when they're still fairly small and very new buds, and you want the stem the last 3 inches of the stem because they're more tender, and you can. Some people like eating those and pickling those and things like that too.
Yep, you can pickle them. That's the other good thing. Yeah.
Yep. And this book was calling it the dandelion heart. Some people call them the crowns, but it was basically the top of the root and the bottom of the shoot, that area, kind of that transition area. They were talking about cutting that part off. It won't kill the dandelion. It will definitely stunt it because now you took the whole green off of it and it has to reestablish that. But that area you can pull off and saute as well. But the shoots a little further up are going to be more stringy. So the ones right near that transition are the ones that he was suggesting. And if you look at my webpage, there is a link below. You can see the book that I was using is listed at the end of the webpage for some of that information if you're interested. But that is another thing. Sometimes shaving that crown off and sauteing that he was doing. But again, it could get better if it's an older plant. So you want a younger plant. Just trying to see if there's anything else.
What's the other name for corn salad? Is that mosh or is that?
Yeah, mosh, vit. Yeah, mine, it takes a long time to germinate, that one. And it does like the cold, but it takes a long time to germinate. We have some coming up.
It only likes the cold.
Yeah, it won't grow in the summer.
Yeah.
But
you get it quick. It's sweet and it's good, but you get it quick and it's done.
Yeah,
I buy it commercially. I buy boxes of it commercially, traditionally.
We didn't have a very good germination rate on the stuff that we put down. We put it down in the hoop last fall.
We should pick the stuff we have because
it's only just a tiny bit.
Well, yeah, it only takes a couple days of growth.
Yep. So we have a little bit in there, but I'd like to try it again for the fall, actually, for maybe in some hoops and stuff. I'm trying to see if I missed, because there are a few chats that came through. They're talking about, I think, the ducks and things. But yeah, if you can make a wild green salad, dandelion greens would be perfect in that. Oh, and by the way, there are some other leaves that look similar to the dandelion leaves. Chicory is one of them. But the chicory leaves have hairs on the bottom side of the leaf. Some hairs on the bottom side. Dandelions may have a few hairs, but not many. And another one that was mentioned that I haven't seen around here is cat's ear. And cat's ear looks a lot like dandelion leaf too, but it has hairs on the top and on the bottom.
So. It took 2 years to show up. Your mosh.
Yeah, really. Well,
corn salad,
yeah. I don't know. They have to have the right temperature for a long period of time. And frankly, with all our back and forth here in Michigan, sometimes it just goes from too cold to too hot, and we don't get that in-between temperature long enough for our mosh to germinate. So that's, I think, part of our problem. I get paid a pull of dandelions in New York neighbors here. Yeah, absolutely. When we lived outside of New York City, we'd be driving up and down the parkways, and you'd see cars pulled over to the side picking dandelions off the side of the parkways. I wouldn't do that.
It's not a terrible area, but it's probably not the best area.
You don't know if they've sprayed, but plus all that exhaust from the cars, I'd go a little farther from the road. But yeah, you'd get we had so many Italians and Greeks in the area that they go for all those dandelions.
And they really pop up in the high grass because they only mow 3 or 4 times a year.
That's true.
We have, so the parkways in New York were designed for car travel, so they don't have trucks on them.
That's true.
And they're usually 2 lanes or 4 lanes. And they go into the city, but they have a pretty large tree line to either side, so you can shoot down the parkway, not even realize until you can be right almost into Yonkers in the Bronx on the north end, and all of a sudden you come out of trees and you're like, what happened? You're in the middle of a big city.
Right.
And they were designed that way.
Yeah.
So that's why there is additional growth. So people do forage in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people junk stuff in along as you get further down into the city. They put all kinds of stuff in there, but it isn't a terrible place. I just would avoid dandelions 20 feet off the road.
Yeah, on busy roads, I just not do that. But they grow in yards everywhere, so
yeah, they're pretty available.
You don't really need many places. In fact, the reason why they like growing in yards is because a lot of people water their yards and they like damp soil. So that's the more you water your yard, you're probably gonna get more dandelions. Yeah, they do usually spray along some of the parks.
Yeah, some of that
parkways.
Maybe lightly they spray. A lot of that it's kind of just mowed, but.
Some places are starting to leave natural, but yeah, it's
a lot of better places. There's a lot of open areas in almost any community where you can find an appropriate place to pull forageable weeds that are edibles.
Yeah. I read Maya's New York, by the way. I'm like, Seal Man's not in New York, is he?
No.
He's in California. Yes. So they definitely are a prolific wild plant that you can definitely pick all the time. In fact, actually, just a quick little fact about them that I didn't know beforehand. Their flowers will open and close 3 days in a row. The 4th day is when you see the puffball of seeds. So if you pick the flowers on days 1 through 3, you can pick them and turn them into wine or whatever. You catch them before they go to seed if you're trying to prevent them from spreading. Now, of course, if you like to eat them, you might want them to spread, so you might not. But the other thing about picking the flowers is if you pick them, they will send up like 2 new shoots for every flower that you pick or something. They'll multiply, in other words, trying to send up more flowers so that they can go to seed if you pick them before the buds go to seed. Once they go to seed, they slow down. But if you keep picking the flowers, you'll also get a lot more flowers to pick. Okay. I was missing some of the chat then again. But, so that is the dandelion. It's already 8:45. I can't believe that.
So what else is going on, or what else do other people have going on?
Frankly, any other requests for... Yeah, I'm like, you keep going out the screen.
I know, my neck, I hurt my neck I woke up with my neck really, really stiff this morning. And it still bothers me. So.
Yeah. But
don't know what happened. I just slept wrong.
Yeah. So by the way, that dandelion for today's herb of the week was a request from someone who watched last week's live show after the live show. So if you do happen to have requests for other herbs of the week, now that one was easy because it's out right now. It's growing right now, and I'm trying to stick with what's growing in our season here in Michigan, which of course is a little bit after, things happening in the further south. But if you do have requests, I can always keep my eyes open for things in our area, so I could get pictures of it. Son is singing strange songs. Well, we were making up songs this weekend. Charlie and I were, especially because her favorite thing to do here was swinging on our swings. In fact, we have 3 swings, and she's swing on one, had me push her because she's 3 years old and doesn't know how to get herself going yet.
We don't have a lot technically in the garden, although we have some things that are carryover. Yeah. There are a few. We have a few holdovers in the hoops. We have a few perennials.
We have garlic, and we do have garlic growing.
A few herbs that are.
We put in the potatoes this weekend with Charlie, and we did put some potatoes in the fall, so they should start up soon once it gets warm enough. We are in Southwest Michigan, by the way, Kathleen. We're
about 30 miles from Lake Michigan,
and a little west of Kalamazoo. So, just keep leaning towards me and you'll be good.
That's the side that hurts.
Oh. So, marsh marigold. Well, we don't have any wetlands, so
Yeah, we're not on our property. We might find some, but we're sandy dry.
maybe when we go foraging with Nobby, we'll
Yep.
find some. And celandine, I'll have to look those up and see if I can find them in the area somewhere. I don't think we have a lot of property.
Our first forage will be on Sunday.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll make it back in time for your live show.
We should. We're actually doing it early. We're doing it early.
That's right.
She wants to forage at about 10 to 11. And frankly, if we do start foraging and it gets a little bit late for live show, what I might do is bump our live show back to 9 o'clock in the summer because the aldermen switched days.
Oh, did they?
So they're no longer at 9 o'clock, which was why I switched off of the 9 o'clock hour.
It might be good because Sundays, I know working in food world, as you get into the summer, everybody comes to dinner late because they're enjoying the good weather, coming back off of the lakes and beaches. And so pushing back an hour during good weather might be nice.
Oh, yeah, chamomile seeds.
A lot of people in Southeast Michigan. Noah's Ark, 1870s is sort of South Central East.
No, they're east.
No, they're east.
Because they're further east than the Pratts.
Yeah, so we got a lot of...
Yeah, a lot of people Southeast Michigan.
We grew up in Southeast Michigan.
We grew up in Ann Arbor. So we're definitely from that side of the state. And I know just about every ice.
You know, the one thing that is weird, the difference of growing here, because we're kind of the same north-south. It's a touch. We have all the super sandy soil, but we get these weird dune things like lichens, and which you get up north. But we get crazy cool lichens. We get marsh grasses, which you also actually get that across the state.
Yeah.
And we get prickly pear cactus. As someone was telling me is actually
growing here. Yeah.
Is actually can be a native because of the sand. We just put some in.
So we're growing that in our food forest, which is another thing I do need to make a video on, and I will do eventually.
Jerusalem artichokes, we just put some in the fall. I got some some special red ones we need to put in, just a few. We put in some asparagus starts. We had 3 we put in. It'll be its 3rd year. They were 1 year or 2 year crowns at that point, but
I have a whole...
don't know if they survived this dry last year.
Yeah, we'll see. I have a whole container full of seeds that I need to go direct plant outside. Things like radishes and carrots and all these root vegetables can go ahead and be seeded directly outside in this weather here in Michigan. Even if we get another freeze, it's not a problem. Greens and things like that. And peas can go in now too. So all of those can go in, and I haven't had time to do that yet. So I'm hoping, that's another thing I'm hoping, but it might not happen till next weekend because I got to do videos. I got to catch up on videos, too.
You got to have a balance between doing and editing.
Yes.
Doing is more important than editing.
Yes. So we'll get through,
You can always do live and just cut and paste.
Yeah.
Throw it up there 5 minutes and go,
There's a video. No. The Pratts are south of Jackson. They're actually a little bit
They're an hour or so from us, a little east.
A little more.
They're not extremely far.
Yeah, they're like middle of the state.
We got mail from them this week.
Yeah, we did. You want to show them what we got?
I think so. Is it over here still?
Yeah, it's on the table still. So we did get mail from them. So we should go over that because the Pratts are doing the YouTube. We pull it up. Okay. Michigan YouTube Homestead Hootenanny. We got our T-shirts in the mail.
I saw 1870s was putting T-shirts out all over the place and family wearing them.
That's cool. So we should eventually find time someday, put together some hats or something for us and T-shirts. But we got our Hootenanny T-shirts, which is another video I want to put together with our Hootenanny T-shirts on. But I'll just let you guys know.
Oh, and we got our... we finally got our campsite a week or so ago because we kept...
couple weeks ago.
Kept forgetting. Last we heard, in the week, end of the week, middle of the week, there was one site left to get the 10, which I'm sure is filled. But you can still get a campsite for the weekend if you're looking to camp over.
Yeah, and if you say you're part of the Pratt's group and we have enough to get the discount will apply to anyone who says they're part of our group.
So there's over 10 sites that are booked, which is families, groups, etc. So So that's a pretty
Well,
good
last I
number of
heard,
people.
we were the 9th, so I'm not sure if the 10th got in there
Yeah.
before the date. So we'd have to check.
And those
with
are just the
Pat.
people that are staying over, not
Yeah.
necessarily people that are coming for the day.
So the Michigan, for those of you guys who don't know, who are local or willing to travel, the Michigan YouTube Homestead Hootenanny is open to any of our subscribers, our fans. For the Pratts, the Pratts host it, but there's a lot of YouTube channels involved with it, and we'll be there. We'll definitely be there, so our fans can go to
15 channels or so.
Yeah. So you can check on, if you want to check out the Pratt Pack on, I think they have a link on it, or actually on our Facebook.
I think we have a link.
We have a link to on our Facebook group and page. We have a link to the webpage for the Hootenanny for more information. So, last year we did have people coming from Ohio and Indiana. We have people coming from northern Lower Peninsula, Michigan, up to I think 5 or 6 hours away.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on Saturday, July 28th. I believe it's starting at noon, but double check the page, and it's going pretty much all afternoon. It's going to be a potluck. There's going to be tables, a few people with tables selling things. I think you're going to have your pasta there.
Yeah, we decided we're going to set up a tent and have pasta available.
Yep.
Probably end up making, I'll make, because for our potluck, I'm sure I'll just make pasta. Sure I'll have foraged for other really good garden fresh things in it.
Yeah.
But I will use that as the base, and we will have it available for sale. We're just going to have it there. It's not a big sales thing. It's just good opportunity. So this event's open to anybody who wants to attend.
Yep.
Potluck brings something. I don't think there's a charge.
There's not a charge if you're staying just for the day. Yeah. You just come in for the day. We have a picnic table picnic area that's set. It's set up for a potluck. If you're just coming for the hangout during the day, there's no charge. If you want to camp, because it's at a campground, I think Somerset. I have to look it up. Go to the webpage.
Yep. So it's open. It's available. It's totally family friendly. So as long as everybody behaves themselves, they're invited.
Yeah, and it is a dry campground, by the way. So no alcoholic beverages. Yeah, so we'll be there. Yeah, 1870s Homestead is listing a bunch of people who are going to be there.
I assume they're going unless
Holler
they have something else booked.
Yeah, Holler Homestead, they're not a Michigan channel, but they're going to be there because they're traveling across the U.S. That's right. Yeah. So they sold their house and they're doing what Rhodes did last year, and they're just traveling across the U.S. and they're, I think, basically looking for where they want to settle their homestead. But they're going to do basically RVing across the country first. But they're planning on making a stop in Michigan right at that time. So Somerset,
which is kind of the perfect time to be in Michigan, where it's the middle of our perfect summer. And then, of course, the shout out from us small to the big is how many people saw the Rhodes feature movie in the last week.
Last weekend.
Yep, it was up free through last Monday. It's available for purchase. A couple different versions, short and long.
There's short. I think there's a short, medium, and long.
I don't think they're coming to the Michigan Hootenanny. At least they haven't told anybody Not yet. But you never know. They did enjoy their time in Michigan and Indiana.
Yeah, although I have a feeling they're wanting to stay a little more closer.
I think they're pretty much. They're not doing much. They're going to a couple things, but they've got a family and a garden and lots of animals to take care of.
Yeah, they're building their homestead back up, but we were one of the stops on Justin Rose. We were the Michigan stop on their trip, which was a heck of a lot of fun. We did make the cut in the short version of. We made the cut twice in the short version of the movie. So, for any of you guys going now that I haven't seen the long version, we ordered it. But we ordered the DVD, so it should be mailed out. And I think the people who are involved in the Kickstarter are getting it first. So I'm not sure when it's going to be mailed out to us, but we will get that here. But Lucky was a star in the short version.
A little yellow fuzzball.
A little yellow fuzzy goose with the little silky mama did make the cut in the short version. So. If you want to check out Lucky's playlist, I do have I did include Justin Rhodes' video in that playlist. You can always check that out. We do have that, and it's basically a playlist from giving their mama the goose eggs all the way through, anything involving Lucky, basically. And Lucky, if you don't know, is our guard goose for our main flock. We also have Gus, who is our guard goose for our silky flock at this point. But I did include Justin Rhodes' video in that playlist as well. So, hi, Christy. We keep getting more and more people.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of new people coming in.
Awesome. So, that was fun.
Christy, Rambling Mountain Rose came in recently. Susan Sullivan.
Yeah.
All.
And that 1870s homestead was here at our Michigan meetup for the roads, which, by the way, was the inspiration for the Michigan YouTube homestead Hootenanny. We really just wanted it to be a big meetup of everybody. So everybody, the Pratts keep getting questions. Do you have to have a homestead do you have to have a YouTube channel? No.
You just have to have a car.
You have
or a bicycle to get there.
You have to have transportation to get there. That's the requirement. And it would help if you bring some food to pass because it is a potluck, but it's probably not required.
But there will be a generous amount, so don't bring too much. Just bring quality and fun and interesting, and don't worry about quantity. Yeah. There will be plenty.
Yes. So absolutely. Anyway, have any of you read Amy Jewell's works? Fantastic. No, I haven't. And the Herbs and Medicines. Actually, would I know the authors of all my herb books and foraging books? Probably not. But I do have a whole bunch of foraging books. I don't think I have any by Amy Jewell. I'd have to double check that. I'm so bad at names.
Geese for $10. Don't get more than one.
If you're going to raise them as a guard goose,
you got to raise them really young.
Yeah, my recommendations, and some people don't like geese, don't like the sound of them. They are loud. They have historically been used as guard geese, and that's what we're using them for. But I will say ours have not been aggressive towards us at all. In fact, they're skittish towards us. They tend to run away. Occasionally they'll hiss at us, but that's mainly if, like, I go and pick up one of their chickens, I get hissed at. They don't attack me even if I go pick up one of the chickens. Or like if I'm out there dealing with the coop at night and I tend to take him off guard. Like Lucky, if I open the door to the coop and he's in there, he'll hiss at me. But they've never attacked us. Now some are more aggressive than others. In fact, the reason why, if you're going to have a guard goose, raise them with chicks. Don't have more than one per flock. And what you do is, what we did is we had our mama hens, our silkies, and we had 3 hens go broody, and I gave each one a goose egg. I wasn't expecting all 3 to hatch, mind you. We only needed 2 guard geese. But I had the moms raise them with chicks. And Lucky loves chicks. He gets so excited when he sees baby chicks. It is hilarious. He thinks like he has to take care of them. It is like, it's actually kind of cute. But you want to raise them 1 per flock because you don't want them bonding with each other as much as with the chickens. And if they bond with each other and form their own flock, then they'll start guarding against the chickens and they could kill the chickens. So if you take 1 and raise it with the chicks, then they will more often associate with those chickens. They kind of think they're chickens. Lucky, I swear, thinks he's a chicken who likes water, but thinks he's a chicken. But it is important when you're trying to do that, and that's what Justin Rhodes did.
Yeah, we still have to put our chickens in.
Yeah,
it's just getting dark now, so
yeah. But that's what Justin Rhodes did. He didn't have a broody mama raise them, but he did raise them and hatch them with chicks and raise them with chicks, and just had 1 being raised with them. So they do have a heck of a lot of personality. They are clumsy as heck. Now we also don't have guard breeds. We have meat breeds. They're Emdens, which is a Dutch meat breed, which are huge. They're definitely big for geese even, but I think they're a little less aggressive probably because of that as well. And We're trying to see if there was anything else.
Christy said you fixed your screen, but we're not on your screen anymore. We have a different internet and we have a different camera.
Yes.
Because we're running a different software system because we have enough speed that we can run it.
We can actually run it.
We can run it properly now. So.
Before we were using my cell phone, which has a crack in the screen, and that really wasn't working that great.
That was due to a service provider that couldn't give us any bandwidth at all.
Our
we're
internet,
getting like 1 meg, 2 meg, 3 meg transfer, and so now we get quite a bit more.
Yep.
So we're actually on a much higher quality camera, and you have software which allows a lot more flexibility in what you do with it.
Yeah, that's good, Gary. You have a pair of female geese. That's probably better than a female and a male, especially if they start going broody and nesting. I'm guessing if you had a pair of like a female male, they'd really bond to each other and become a mating pair. Which case, if they ever try to raise their own chicks, they'd probably start guarding against the chicken. So you just have to be careful. And Carrie has them also. Yep. So it's the same kind we have. It's a meat breed. I don't think they're as aggressive, but I do think they're great deterrents.
Yeah, Cindy's using OBS.
Yeah, we're using OBS right now. Thanks. So the advantages I found with the guard geese that we have, they're not aggressive towards us. They will hiss at things if they're nervous about them, which I do think is a deterrent for a lot of animals because they sound like snakes. I don't think they would be able to take on a big predator like a coyote or maybe even a fox. But
they're so skittish.
Yeah. I mean, even if they got into the coop at night, yeah. I don't think they would take them on because they're not strong enough. But they do seem to deter our aerial predators a lot. We have red-tailed hawks and Cooper hawks and things like that. And we haven't, so far so good, we haven't lost any since getting, we did see one try to get into the coop and run, but all the chickens got into the coop, and it didn't get anything, and it just went straight out the door again. But I have a feeling if it saw Lucky, I'm guessing Lucky was already in the coop, if they saw Lucky, he probably wouldn't have gone in there. When they're outside with the chickens, I think they're pretty big deterrents. I've seen red-tailed hawks overhead and Cooper's hawks overhead, and it's like they're checking them out, but they don't go for them.
They haven't had anybody even swoop down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the geese do poop a lot. It's not really a problem for us because during much of the year, other than the winter, we move them every week-ish, depending on the weather and how the grasses are growing. So we actually encourage it because we're using it as a fertilizer. In the winter, we do a deep bedding, so
the poops can be like that big.
Yeah.
Up to some, not always.
But if you have a regular, we do have to change the water virtually daily because they get so much mud from their beaks and their feet, and they do sometimes poo in the water. So we end up dumping that almost daily. So we are on a well, so other than the electricity, it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
But we probably put 80 gallons of water
a week.
No, probably
I don't know about a day.
There's
Those
more than
that big.
There's 40 gallons each, I'm going to bet.
Maybe.
They're over 20 gallons. Okay. I don't know. We got 2 baby pools. So we just dump them, fill them back up. We're doing at least 40 or 50 gallons. But it's not a big deal. We're in a very wet, watery area, and so we have unlimited water supply and sandy soil. So.
Yeah, by the way, our main coyote deterrent around here is our poultry netting. We have electric poultry netting. So we go and basically pasture our chickens and geese through the areas, and the electric poultry netting helps, I think, keep the ground predators at bay for the most part. So we did lose, my first year, we did lose a number to coyotes in the middle of the day. So that was a problem, but definitely like I see turkey vultures at my parents' house.
We get turkey vultures here.
Yeah, I haven't seen turkey vultures go after my chickens at all ever.
But you see them in the sky.
You see them in the sky. I think they usually more.
They're roadkill. They're after the kill.
Yeah, they usually go after things that are already dead. But we said that about crows too, and crows did go after one.
We have a lot
chickens.
of wild turkeys around here.
We do have.
Sometimes you'll see 20 at a time. A lot of times it's just 6
or 2.
1 or 2.
Recently, we've had a lone turkey.
See them almost every day, and we'll see them repeatedly for days or weeks. We have a wood line that transitions from 5-acre or larger lot, maybe 8-acre lot that's just mowed or baled, and then we have a wood line that transitions into our back area, and so they love to protection of the wood line and go foraging for whatever's back there.
Yeah, and there's a field right back there too, so I think they use that as the highway to the field area as well.
And they roost. We've had young ones in our back forest for as they raised them for a number of weeks.
And by the way, Susan, I agree. I did a lot of reading before getting the geese, and one of the things I had read is that if a goose does come at you, then there are certain things that geese will do to each other that will deter them and kind of tell them who's boss. And one of them was to grab hold. Basically, they'll grab hold of each other's necks, actually. But if you grab hold and pin them, like, and then hold them still, they will not, they will kind of submit to you. I have held Lucky, and Lucky, he won't let me hold him very well.
You had to get him this week to move him.
Yeah, to
the coop.
I went from the winter coop and picked him up and moved him first because I didn't want him freaking out that I was grabbing all his chickens. Moved him to the summer coop first, and in fact, he didn't like being held. When I got my hand under his feet, he really settled right down, and he just kind of stayed there. And he is huge now. I did that last fall, and he was half the size.
He's 25 pounds, maybe 30 pounds.
I don't know, but he's definitely heavy. The only issue I had with him is when I tried to put him in the summer coop.
We believe we had a whole bunch of crows come in and peck the head out of a chicken. Like just 2 of them they attacked, but one they killed in a matter of a few minutes because we were in the backwoods and we came out. There were like 20 crows, and there were no other birds. We're pretty sure it was the crows.
Yeah, Susan, Justin gave Donald to Art and Bree, definitely. They have Donald now, but I think Justin said he was looking into getting another guard goose. I don't think he's got it yet, unless it's happened really recently. But I know he was looking for another place to get them from.
Yeah, I mean, the crows did, but it was a whole pack, a whole flock of crows that came in.
Absolutely. Crows will go for...
We're talking 15 or 20, and they have to pack attack.
Yeah. They are more opportunists. They will go for dead animals priority, but if you have a smaller chicken, like our Silky is what got eaten by our crows, and if they're caught, kind of away from the flock a little bit.
It was an older one that probably wasn't paying attention, didn't get in fast. They were out in the electric fence area eating, and we were out walking the dog. That's what kind of surprised us.
I don't think we had the fence yet.
Yeah.
Did we have the fence at that point? I don't think we had the fence.
Oh no, that's right. They were out in the yard, so it was probably too preoccupied. We didn't have the guard geese, right?
Yeah, we didn't have the guard geese yet.
So, and that's sort of when we started looking at. Well, we need to. I think we did have the fence.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the geese.
Yeah, not the geese yet.
Or something. I don't know.
It was last spring, basically. Yeah. So the geese didn't hatch until 2 weeks before the roads were here, so mid-June.
Yeah. Are crows and ravens are the same thing, pretty much, right? Or are they different?
I think ravens are bigger, actually.
Are they? All right.
So, and I think ravens are... I don't know if we have them around here. We have mainly crows around here. I think... Are ravens more European, or are they in the south? I don't know. We don't have them here. Okay. Yeah, wild geese.
Yeah, it was not a smart chicken, and they got it pretty good, so we tossed it in the woods.
Yeah, wild geese and swans will guard, so any of the wild ones, absolutely give them space. I would not feed them or anything.
They will guard young kids, too, if you have...
Like, they will attack young kids and chase them.
Under absolutely. 2 or 3 years old, they will...
Yeah. In fact, I was actually careful because I did have Charlie here this weekend, my 3-year-old niece, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the show. And we have our fence right now for the Silkies and Gus, we have around the playset. So, of course, her favorite thing is to go swing. So I just made sure I was always in there. Gus had no problem with Charlie there. He was a little nervous of her, and if she was moving too fast near him, he'd hiss at her, but he did not attack her at all. She's a little 3-year-old. So I would not leave her in there on her own without me in there, just because I have not... She is small. She's actually probably about the height of Gus. Yeah. So if he went after her, that could probably be bad.
Pecking her in the ear.
yeah, that could not. Yeah, it could end up bad. But he didn't go after her at all. The only one who went after her was our new Silky rooster. Only because he wanted to eat the grass under the swing where she wanted to swing. But he went and tried. He didn't do much of anything, and she was like, "What is he doing?" Because he was just kind of jumping at her legs. But he's not big enough where it doesn't have spurs.
Silkies, ding dongs. They might be. They're definitely silly, and they're not extremely intelligent. Are they less intelligent than the other ones? I'm not sure, but
no,
they're not overly smart. But none of the chickens are.
No, I don't think the chickens are very smart. The geese are smarter than the chickens.
Oh yeah, the geese are way smarter.
Yeah. But the silkies are not very cold hardy. Although they did fine this winter. We had no heat lamps on them. But they were cuddling with a goose. That probably helped. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to see. Ravens are huge crows.
Yeah.
Just as smart.
We had a couple of very large ones that have been hanging around the last front yard. We had seeded our yard with some forage seeds and some stuff last weekend. Yeah. Some of it was overseed and some of it we had to broadcast seed it. So we have been feeding some very expensive bird feed to some of the local birds.
Roosters can be cocky, and one of my roosters right now is actually pretty darn nice. Leapy, he's like a gentleman to all the hens. He's like showing them all the food left and right. And
our red rooster, which we don't have anymore, was pretty good too.
He was pretty good, but he actually would kind of challenge me every once in a while, flap his wing, not attack, but just flap his wings against my leg, which actually hurt a little bit. And would, put a little bit of a challenge on me. We did have one rooster a year ago that was just mean to the girls, mean to everybody. So it just depends on the rooster.
He might have ended up being a Coco Ven video. I'm not sure.
35 weeker. Which one was 35 weeks? Yeah, I think the mean one was our Coco Ven rooster.
It's likely that was our Coco Ven video.
Yep.
It was one of our roosters.
Yep. So
Yankee Living's on their way out.
Yeah, and it is running over now. Every animal is really different, but you can kind of get an idea of a little bit of what they're like. I don't like being drop kicked by a rooster with spurs. No.
You got scratched with some spurs trying to catch one.
Yeah, I got scratched from their beaks. They were pecking at me when I was catching them when we were going to separate them for the butcher day. They didn't like my catching them and separating them, but they were young cockerels for the most part.
I don't know if they're Russian or Chinese. They're Asian. They're Asian continent originally.
I'm pretty sure they're Chinese. They're definitely from Asia.
There is a popularity for them in Asia, but also the black meat is very popular. Anything that's black meat is considered good luck, or it's high quality. So that alone, it really doesn't taste or perform any differently. It's just got a darker pigment. So.
And chickens in general are originally more tropical animals. I do think the silkies are actually from China, and but the silkies all have black meat. Well, kind of dark gray meat, really, and like a charcoal gray, kind of like my color of my birds almost. And bones are dark, and everything's dark on them, basically. Yeah, you can cut the spurs off. I haven't had to do that at all.
That'd be way more pain than it's worth, I think, for our birds.
Yeah, ours don't really do much. All I did with my silky rooster after he was challenging us, because he wanted to be near the swings, but we kept swinging close to him. I went up to him, and he was upset with me, so he kind of went at my feet a little bit. He's only a year old. He doesn't have very big spurs. I haven't even noticed any spurs on him at all. But he was kind of trying to attack me in his way. I just picked him up and held him by his feet upside down for a few minutes. Set him down, and he was like, okay, I'm on my way.
Yeah, capons get a real high price. They're limited availability, but in Europe they love them. They're basically fat chickens that like to eat, and the neutered ones. So they're very prized in Europe, but man, they can be $40 for a capon.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I'd
We've
rather
never
them.
Tried it.
I've never done it, and I'd just rather they only have one bad day, and that just looks painful to me. So the only bad day is the day we butcher them. So that's why I do that. Yeah. So yeah, we probably should cut off unless there's any other questions about anything else. Susan says hiss at your goose.
Yeah, I'm sure you can hiss back. But
you could hiss back.
They're pretty friendly with us. They're fine. They're a little standoffish.
Yeah, they just kind of back off. They hiss at me and then run away. basically. Although I did get Gus to eat some bitter cress out of my hand the other day. He's starting to get more and more friendly with me. He's just nervous. He was not handled at all as a chick. Lucky was, and he's a little bit better with me, as long as I'm not grabbing his chickens. He can't understand why this channel isn't huge.
Getting ready to break 1,000 subscribers, right?
I think this last week we probably gained about 25, 30 subscribers. So that's awesome. I got to get a video out for Doug and Stacy, which is they're having a competition. Any of you guys with channels, they do have a competition going on right now. Well, competition, kind of. A drawing. It is for channels with over 2,000 subscribers, and we're just approaching 1,000 right now. But I'm going to put it together anyway, and it's basically, why do you watch Off Grid with Doug and Stacy? You have to have that as the title.
Because I want their stove.
You want their stove, their wood-burning stove. I'm going to put a video. I have that recorded. I'm going to edit that and put that together. They're giving away a camera. They're having a drawing for channels that are over 2,000 subscribers by April 30th. They're giving away a vlogging camera, which would be cool. But I don't think we'll hit 2,000 in a week, or just over a week. But for that matter, for any of the small channels, I kind of mentioned that. I was like, I don't think I'll hit 2,000 by the end of this time. Doug actually replied to my thing saying, do the video anyway. You'll gain subscribers just from doing the video, because they have like 150,000 subscribers. And, you know, do the video anyway. You gain subscribers, you win that way. And if you happen to go over 2,000 by April 30th, you're entered in the drawing for the camera. So why not? It's a win-win regardless. So we'll get that video out and then first in the next couple days. But yeah, their stove, their wood-burning stove.
Yeah, I was looking up a bunch of stoves just out of curiosity, and they are, because there's a lot of metal, the cast iron. But incidentally, there are a couple of the more primitive style stoves are significantly less money than some of the really fancy ones. I mean, the fanciest one that comes to mind is the Uga stoves that are like $25,000 plus install, and they're gas fired, but they mimic the old style. And then there's a whole bunch of old style manufacturers, and they can be $10,000-$15,000. Yeah. You can actually find some old style cast iron ones that are new, and some are gas convertible, and some are wood, and they are like they're only like $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, that's an expensive stove, but it's you don't have to break the bank on one of those types of stoves. There are a few options, and there's old ones out there.
There are. Our neighbor, actually, the one we went to visit. Did you look at her stove?
Oh, I forgot to.
I forgot to when I was there too. She picked up an old Kalamazoo, like 1930s Kalamazoo oven that she set up on her patio outside her house, which was awesome. And I did want to mention, yes, Bobblehead, the second place for Off-Grid Doug and Stacy's drawing is for a $100 Amazon gift card, which is kind of
We met them last year. They were staying at the hotel we were at
Home Center America.
They were very, very, they're sort of pseudo-celebrities, and they handle it pretty well. They have a lot of interest. But they
thanks, single man.
Yeah, they handle but they're actually very nice, down to earth people, and I mean they need a little bit of privacy, and we just said hello to them, and they're in an elevator, but they're really easy to get along with.
Yeah, they do have.
You could buy a house in Detroit for $5,000. You do have to fix it up, and you do have to make sure that it's.
You could buy a house in Detroit for $1 sometimes.
Yeah, you can buy auction houses out in this area for not a lot over that.
No.
If you want to clean them up.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So that's why if you see my next video coming out, that's the first one I'm going to work on. That is why I'm doing it, even though I'm not at their channel minimum. And I do understand why they have a channel subscriber minimum. If they're giving away like a $500-$600 camera, a vlogging camera, they're not going to give it away to a tiny channel that they're not sure if they're going to be around very long. They want to make sure that people are really into the vlogging, to be able to give it away. So I get having that 2,000 subscriber minimum, and I have no problem with that. But we'll probably see where it goes. Put that video out and see where it goes. See what happens. And I haven't watched it yet, but I did see Bobblehead Homestead posted Jeff over there posted his video today. I saw a notice come up. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had a lot of time to watch things. Oh, thank you, Foraging Freedom.
Yeah,
Nice.
we were talking foraging earlier.
Yep. And we talk foraging every week.
Every week portion, depending on sometimes more, sometimes less.
Sometimes more, sometimes less. And we're trying to go by what's in season right now.
I don't know if Brightmore.
Well, I don't even know where you're looking at. There's the Brightmore videos. Ever see the Brightmore? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, Bobo has a great example of finding a property that works for him that was a real bargain, and he's making, hey, you got free chickens with it, and
yeah, right.
It's taking some work. I know that.
Not just free chickens. He had originally 4 free chickens.
Cats.
And he's been collecting cats.
Aside from what other foliage showed up there, so.
Yeah. And then the neighbor, he might end up collecting a cow soon too, right? If that neighbor's cow keeps getting loose.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But that's a fun channel too. But and he has new chickens too, and he's got a really budget coop that looks awesome. It would work as a summer coop up here, but I don't think it would be good for a winter coop. But it definitely works down there. Oh, thanks, Single Man. That's sweet. Foraging Freedom Podcast.
Oh, foraging.
Channel.
Oh, I wasn't.
Foraging.
Yes, foraging.
Foraging, not foraging. Foraging.
That's
sorry.
good too.
I was doing that.
That is not something I have foraged into.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun to figure out how to. You were saying you want to learn how to solder stuff because you've been working on construction downstairs.
Well, we've done a little bit of soldering.
Rough
That's a little
soldering.
different than foraging.
No, it is.
We were actually very rarely, but we were actually watching the Silly History Forged show last night.
We hardly ever watch TV.
Yeah, it was very rare. We turned on the TV last night. So.
Yeah, they have forging knives or something, whatever. I actually didn't watch too much of it.
You can get property rural a little bit beyond us in the more rural parts of Michigan. I think the going rate is about $3,000. Ranges between about $1,500 and $5,000 for rural property, depending on if it's cleared growable land or if it's forested, and of course how close you are to cities. That's completely unimproved. Like you have an access road or no road to it, and obviously nothing else. But you can pick up a lot of land in Michigan, and I'm sure as you go out west, even in the thousands per acre.
We're getting like our local area.
It's getting too expensive.
It's getting expensive.
It's growing a lot. In
it
homes.
has a super school system as part of it, and it also is just close enough to Kalamazoo that you get a lot of doctors moving out this way, lawyers and stuff who work in Kalamazoo and live out here. So the price here is going up.
People are buying mostly 1 and 2 and 3 acre lots now, where a lot of these lots were 5 and 10 and 50 acre lots, and they're starting to break them up a little bit. So the prices have gone way high in the last few years. They're still somewhat affordable compared to a lot of areas of the country, but they're 3 or 4 times the price of going 20 to 30 minutes further out, and they're very affordable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were looking at this area and compared to New York, where we were living before, I mean, it's ridiculous. But and the taxes are so low compared to New York. But in this area, it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other areas nearby. But I mean, on one hand,
we have easy access into a medium-sized town.
We're right off the highway. I work in Kalamazoo, so it's really easy access in there. You could get to the farmers market easily.
20 minutes.
So that's a lot of advantages to that. On the other hand, it's also a good investment property because if people are moving out here and things, the prices are just going to keep going up on this property.
Because everybody's going to want a food forest and chickens in their yard.
And we have a lot of neighbors who don't care how many chickens we have.
Well, we've got guns and trucks and growing all over. All the neighbors have a variety of some of the above.
Yeah.
And so
it's a fun
everybody's still country tolerant of people to do what they want on their own property.
But you get some of those who are actually moving out here who are not country. Why you
There
move
are
to the
people
country?
that are moving out and complaining about, and we're not talking about commercial farms and stinking, large pig farms and chicken farms. We're talking about a few animals or some gardens or a few birds, or somebody has a loud vehicle or a shotgun, and they're getting, it's like, you know what, you moved out to this, you know what you're getting into, leave them alone.
Yeah. So now it's kind of funny because all our neighbors are like, well, one of them just asked us about chickens and chicken coop and asked us to come over and take a look and see if there's any suggestions to how, because he's going to get chickens this summer. The other one asks us every once in a while, do you mind if we do this or do that? And we're like, don't care. So they're very, very tolerant. We've been lucky with our neighbors so far. The property on the other side of us is for sale, but there's a bit of woods, mosquito.
Quite a bit of woods.
Between us and their house, so hopefully that will still stay nice there.
We get a little snow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like snow.
We like all 4 seasons. We like to.
I like all 4 seasons. I don't like it when it sits in the 90s and muggy. We do get muggy because we're off the lake here, but I don't like the 90s muggy weather. So there's some of that I'm glad it's short. 70s is perfect. If I could get 70 degrees year round, I'd be happy. But there's not many places you could do that unless you want to move to Ecuador.
Even some of those areas get hot.
Yeah, but there's some. Yeah. Anyway, we should wrap up. And I'm not sure what next week's Herb of the Week is going to be yet. I'll take a look in our yard and take some walks around and see what else is popping up because so many things are popping up now. So
I want to be where I can hear the.
Can't hear the traffic.
Oh, where you can't hear the traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. Out in the country, we can still hear the train.
We can hear the train. We can hear the highway occasionally at night, and we're a couple miles off of the highway, but there's some fields.
Yeah,
or maybe a mile.
It's not that
off.
far. It's maybe a mile.
But it's nothing loud, and our road's not too busy. So
yeah, Berkeley has 70s year round, except Berkeley's really expensive.
Been through there a couple times.
Yeah. So I'm probably not moving back to the coast. In fact, I'm probably not moving any foreseeable future.
Unless it involves a lake.
We can do cleavers. We did chickweed. If you look a couple weeks ago, we did chickweed.
On there.
I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago or something. Purple dead nettle. I do have that growing. Thank you, Susan. That is death nettle. Yeah, dead nettle and death nettle. I think it's the same thing. We do have that growing in the garden right now. Our chickens don't like it. Cleavers is one that we can keep our eyes open for. Going to Ecuador.
Are you from Ecuador?
Princess. Type that as you said. That's awesome. I would love to go to Ecuador. Our college had studied abroad in Ecuador and have a lot of friends who went.
We lived in a town for 6 years that a large population of the town was from Ecuador, and I worked with a lot of people from Ecuador. We actually have a fairly good knowledge of the area.
Awesome. So I will definitely keep my eyes open for those things, Susan. I know cleavers grows around here. Haven't seen it yet. Purple
elderberry's too early. We do have We don't have elderberry, but there's lots of elderberry in the area.
In fact, I'd like to get some cuttings from probably from Nobby.
There were cuttings. Who had cuttings
Rose
available?
at Wholesome Roots had cuttings available, but she shipped them out already.
Okay. Yeah, but there's lots of elderberry around here.
Yeah. So that's another thing I'd like to add to our food forest up front. Another thing, if we get, when they go to flower, is our locusts. The locust flowers are edible, so when that goes...
Yep, that'll be in the next few weeks. Wild garlic is up right now. We are getting towards the end of wild garlic.
We do have it, and we did, wild garlic and wild onion. We did wild onions, and some people use those interchangeably, by the way, as far as what they are, but there's a whole lot of different species. We did wild onions a few weeks ago as well.
Yarrow and echinacea we have in our back forest area, but that will be end of summer. August.
Well, through the summer.
It'll be late, as we get hot.
Yeah. The yarrow will come up like July, probably, June, July. Echinacea, we don't have wild growing around here, but a lot of people plant it around here. We have like daisies and stuff growing like crazy. Daisies and black-eyed Susans, but made a chickweed salad last week. Okay, cool. Yeah, I heard it definitely.
We've still got good young sweet chickweed because it's been cold.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be taken off even more. So yeah, we have lots of ideas here. I like eating chickweed. I love the taste of chickweed. But we'll get going. We'll figure out what next week will be. Maybe we'll do the dead nettle. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. But if you have any other questions, I guess now's the time. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up. And please like down below. If you give us thumbs up, it helps expose our videos on YouTube more. Basically, the more interactions we have, thumbs up or comments and all that, basically feeds into the YouTube algorithms to promote our page a little bit more. So that would help us out greatly if you could do that. But be on the lookout where I have a ton of videos coming. It'll come slowly because, like I said, I do work full time. Yeah, you could do chickweed tea. Absolutely. And you could put it in salad. Put your chickweed and your dandelion greens and your bitter cress all in a salad right now. You'll have a wild green salad. So you guys have a good night and a great week. Enjoy the sunshine if you're in our area because it's going to be nice. Yeah, a lot of bee food. I agree. Lots of flowers for the bees. We let it grow wild for them. So, yep, echinacea is the same thing as purple cone flower. So from M.I. Gardner. Yep, absolutely. Actually, I need to start some flower seeds myself. I on the to-do list. So, see you guys next week. I'm going to actually get to the page where we end screaming. So, see you later.
Good night.
Good night.